Welcome to Somewhere in October. I'm Alex, and we are doing a spoiler movie discussion of Wolfman 2025. If you have not seen the movie, go watch my non spoiler review. It's already up. Come back when you've seen it because I'm going into the details. I'm going into frame by frame what I thought. I mean, not frame by frame, but like chronologically, I'm going through my thought process and what I enjoyed and what I didn't like. So the movie starts and we are in Oregon in the woods. This family is a hunting family. The dad is kind of a hard ass on the kid, but he is just trying to protect him. And I can see where that comes from. The thought of me having a kid and having to keep someone alive scares the crap out of me, but I also see how if you don't deal with those emotions, it can turn you into kind of a strained parent-child relationship. So they're out hunting, they're looking for deer. The kid runs off, he really wants to get the deer, he wants to impress his father. And in his scope, he sees what looks like a wolfman. They go hide in the deer blind. And what I really liked about the deer blind was the breath. When the breath came up and then it came up the back, I was like, oh my god. But they luckily got away. It just went and hunted whatever it wanted. And it was really important that they get back before nightfall. So this was in the daytime, but I guess night is just when, you are a victim to the environment. It's really hard to see in the woods in the night. If you've been in an isolated area like that, because when you're in a city, sometimes you forget there's street lights, there's light pollution. It gets dark when you're out there, okay? So I like that. It was giving Rare Exports vibes at the beginning. Then we have a time jump. So 30 years later, we're meeting Blake, Charlotte, and their daughter. Building the family dynamic, I always find this kind of cheesy. I always find it kind of hard to get into the dialogue. So it was a little bit dicey for me in this, but it set it up pretty well. We have two parents that have a strained relationship. He is not working. He gets to spend a lot of time with the daughter. She is a journalist and she's clearly working very, very hard. The daughter and the dad have a very, very tight relationship. I said this in my non-spoiler review, but I am a daughter and only child. So I was a very big daddy's girl and I lived this. So I can actually really grasp this concept easily. I do understand if people can't. It wasn't set up hugely. We just really knew the dad and daughter relationship. The other conflicts were kind of just sprinkled in there. I do have to say, the casting of the kid to the adult I thought was really, really great. They looked really, really alike. I think that was a great job. His dad is missing but then declared dead, legally. That's usually what happens, I think, guys. I'm just going off what I've heard. So that you can, claim their possessions and, do what you need to do legally. And so he goes out to this old farm where he lived in Oregon and he invites the family to come with them, thinks it's a good time to bond. When I did my trailer reaction on Patreon, this is what I was nervous about because I find a lot of modern movies really dwell on the conflicts of the family. And although I do think that needs to be resolved in some regard, which I personally do think it got resolved in this, we'll talk about that, I don't like taking out of the realism. When you're in a survival situation, you're in this life or death, scary, terrorizing situation. When I think about really hard stuff that happened to me, it's almost like you just disconnect. Work no longer matters. All these things you were worried about that are actually so, they don't mean anything. They stop mattering. And I do really think that kind of would have came clear just from going to the city to this place. I think you really would have seen that in itself, but because you have this terror, you don't have time to talk about it. We're not having heart-to-hearts right now, okay? There's a wolfman out there. So then they meet Derek, which is the son of Dan. So at the beginning, we see his dad talking to Dan, being like, the wolfman's real, the face of the wolf, I've seen him. This is the son, and they pick him up, and he's a little bit weird. And I'm like, is he just weird because he's living in isolation? Probably. I've met people like this, so I wasn't totally taken aback. I didn't think he was going to be crazy, but I was expecting something to happen, and I was a little nervous. So he shows them how to get to his dad's, and this is when a wolfman is in the road. I'm saying a wolfman because we know there's more than one, which I think is sick, but okay. There's a wolfman in the road. This was the one scene when it happened, I was like, if the rest of the movie looks like this, I'm gonna be disappointed. That van crash scene did not look any bit real. Maybe it was because I seen it in IMAX, maybe it'll look better on streaming or on DVD or whatever, but it did not look good, okay? So we'll jump over that. That happened, didn't love it. They were stuck up in the trees, which was crazy. And when the guy opened up the door and he fell, I was like, damn, this is so terrifying. But when the wolfman is coming and he sees him in the mirror, I was sweating. I was like, okay, here we go, I'm ready. So then we get this chase. So he closes the door. The wolfman does scratch or bite him. When they were wrapping it, it does kind of look like there was a bite in there, but it also was a scratch, so I'm not sure. Let me know what you thought of that. For some reason, my brain wasn't like, okay, he's going to be infected, he's going to turn into this. For some reason, I thought the whole movie was going to be his dad is now the Wolfman. We all kind of figured that. I thought the whole movie was going to be these three, and the conflict was really going to arise for the dad really protecting the daughter over the mother, because we do see that in this first scene where they are being chased to the house. Which, by the way, when the camera is changing angles and he's running across the lawn, I was scared. I was like, get in the house. But then we see that conflict arise. You know, he's like making sure the daughter's okay. He really hasn't even asked Charlotte if she's okay. There's really just like a disconnect there, which I totally get. And that happens. Okay, that happens. You know, there's another person. But then the slow transformation really starts. And he's like boarding them in to protect them from the Wolfman outside. And I'm like, damn, he's about to be the Wolfman inside. How are we going to get around this? We start to see a really slow transformation, which I like. Like, he's getting infected. He's starting to get sick. He's losing his speech and his communication, which I thought was really interesting. But when he is starting to get these heightened senses, so the spider, I thought it was going to be his dad, like, chained up there because he was also a Wolfman, but he was like trying to protect everybody. But it was the spider. I was like, I love being on the inside of this transformation, because we all know we're going to get that external one. And it's kind of hard to top what's been done. It's kind of hard to really think outside the box. But we get that internal one, which I thought was really cool. When he was scratching his wound, I could handle when he was biting. For some reason, I was like, yeah, okay. But when he was scratching the open wound, I was like, and then he has these heightened senses, and so he can hear the Wolfman outside, and he can smell him. He's at the door smelling. And I thought the door was going to like slam open, or he's going to slam into the door. That was kind of the jump scare I was expecting. The doggy door grab was awesome, and I also like that we acknowledge that they did have a dog in the beginning. So that, you know, that little detail was really great for me. That scared me. That got me. You can almost see her start to recognize what's happening. I almost feel like Charlotte, because they're making eye contact, they're communicating through their eyes a lot, which I think is really powerful in movies. I don't want all that dialogue. I really think she is starting to understand what the hell is happening. Because then we have him like basically passing out. They go down into the radio room. Their child, is her name Gretchen? I keep forgetting her name, so I'm just going to call her the daughter. Okay, the daughter's name is Ginger, not Gretchen. Okay, Charlotte is on the radio, and what I really liked about this is we also get the transformation that the man is experiencing internally. He's losing his connection. He's losing his way to get help, because we know in like American Werewolf in London, in the Wolfman, these men who are transforming are victims in themselves. They want somebody to help them. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't want to turn into this monster. Sometimes they don't even know that they're turning into this monster. And he just thinks he's dying. So he can't understand her, but she also can't understand him. So when it shifts to his perspective, we can hear what he's saying, but we can also see that he can't understand them, and then vice versa. And I think there's a really strong scene that kind of, you know, they're having a really distant relationship, and she's realizing in the moment of, like, she thinks she's losing him. I love you, like, I can't live without you, please be okay, please be okay. They're not understanding each other. They are losing their relationship. They are losing the love they once had. They're not understanding each other at this point in their lives, and I do think that's a really strong callback to that. Also, fun note, this outfit the little girl has on, it's like a red little coat and she has that hat. It's giving Little Red Riding Hood. That has to be on purpose, right? It's giving Little Red Riding Hood. She gets the idea to go to the truck. And Charlotte, I'm kind of living for her because, one, she's worried about connecting to her daughter, but we also get to see that she will do anything, go face to face with the Wolfman, even Blake as a Wolfman, to protect her daughter. Standing on business, we love her. So she takes a knife, she goes out in the woods. If you're new to the channel, I farm sat a few months ago, and I was talking about how I would have to go out with the dogs in the dark, and I had my knife in my hand. This is exactly what the setting was like, and this is exactly what I looked like. So that was me in real time. They are out of the truck, and I am sweating. You know something's gonna happen. I just keep waiting. I'm like, either he's gonna transform in the back. She keeps leaving the door open, so I keep thinking that it's going to appear in the door, or when she closes it, it's going to run up to the door. We're going to get a mirror shot. I'm waiting. When she did the windshields, I was like, oh my god. Like, it actually really scared me. I jumped like this out of my chair. Oh my god. Other people who can keep it together, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because I can't. I really can't. So then we have them run to the greenhouse, which I thought was really cool. I really like that perspective because you could just see almost the silhouette, barely, of the Wolfman going under, and then the family on top, and you can see, like, for the Wolfman, it's almost perfect hunting. Like, he can see them. And for them, they can barely see him. So it was really scary. And this is when the dad is kind of realizing that something is happening to him or he's getting his instincts. And he's like, you guys go to the house, I'm protecting you. So he is still dad. He's still Blake. He's turning into the Wolfman, but he still has that love. What I worried about this movie was that it was going to turn into, love conquers all, like fatherhood conquers all. That's kind of how I was worried it was going to end. It clearly didn't, but that's where I was worried it was going to go. So he starts fighting this wolf. We got wolf on wolf crime, wolfman on wolfman crime. They go into the house. I loved seeing the wolf versus wolf. I also loved seeing that Charlotte had to step in. Charlotte had to do something. It's not like they could just hide and watch and this half transformed man was suddenly better than the wolf man. They had to help him and it was really great. I liked that action part of it and it wasn't too much action for me, so I liked it. So when he kills him, which was, pretty gnarly how he had to take him out. We see the tattoo, it's his dad. Something else I really like about this is they have to kind of communicate with their daughter and you can see them having the struggle. Like earlier when they said, is that man dead, when he got dragged away from the van? Or now the dad is now the wolfman dead on the floor and Blake has gone out in the woods because he knows something's happening. I really like that because it's so real. It's so real. Talking to anybody about death, especially a child, talking about a child and what you're experiencing, you want to protect them. But I do think you have to be a little bit honest. Because when we seen at the beginning, the girl wasn't really listening to her dad and she was walking on the whatever and she could have fallen into traffic. Someone could have ran into those and then that man yelled at her. She thinks the world is so innocent and sweet and safe because that's what children do. So I think in times of terror, in times of horror, in horror movies, you need to be a little bit real. Because she's also like, that's my dad, what's wrong with my dad? Even when she puts her hand on his head and he growls a little bit, like she has to learn. It's like when you introduce a child to a dog. There's animal instinct. You also need to learn your own survival instincts. And I do think she starts to gain her own in this, which I liked. At the beginning when he had to carry her, she wasn't like that the whole movie. She knew she also was fighting to survive. So we have the wolf transformation, the knuckles, the nails, we've kind of seen all this before. It was more of the agony than the physical transformation. Like we could just see the agony he was in and that's why it was such a slow burn. I do like the fast pace because once we start getting introduced to the Wolfman in that van scene, it doesn't really give you a second to think. When you get a second to think, you're getting introduced to his agony, which is a slow burn. So I like how that's layered in. The jaw, when he was like, I was like, ooh. I did really like that. I wanted it to go a little harder, I'm not gonna lie, but upon watching werewolf versus wolfman things, wolfman design is very different. And so I'm going to stand on that. I think for a wolfman, he looked great. He was not a full werewolf monster, big pecs and fur everywhere. He, like American Werewolf in London, who was full werewolf, he was wolfman. And we didn't have all this thing about the moon. It was more like an infection. So I'm going to pay tribute to that. I think they did really great with that. And for me, it fit. It fit the story. I think I would have taken it less seriously if this man was a big-ass wolf with a furry face, personally. So then the power goes, and you're just like, oh shit. And you can hear him come in upstairs, break in somewhere. And so now I'm like freaking out. I'm like, he's gonna go for them. What's gonna happen? When she's creeping around trying to find him and we can see him sneak down the stairs, I was like, he's gonna jump out and it's gonna scare the crap out of me. I like that they chose to do him just stalking behind the daughter. That's when I gasped. I went, and someone laughed and I was like, but that got me. And then you really get to see that the mom is going to protect her daughter. She's making sure that there is space between her daughter and her. She screamed finally. I didn't feel like we got a lot of sincere fear, but she screamed and she was scared. So they run out in the barn. I expected us to get to the barn at some point. We went in the greenhouse. There's not a lot of real estate to play with, and I want to know what was in the barn. Show me what's in the barn. This is my favorite. I'm obsessed with this for a million reasons. They're in the barn, she's like, I need to do something. She gets a bear trap. Love it. Love a woman who's not a damsel in distress in a movie. So she's doing great. She has her plans. The way he digs like a dog to get under the door, damn, I thought that even those little things, he could have just broken the door like this unmovable force. But he's not. He's a wolf man. He's not this big burly monster. He is a wolf man. So I really think that pays tribute to that. Then we get the bear trap scene. So I liked the vision switch so we can see the advantage the Wolfman has. We can see the Wolfman has clear sight on them and they look so distorted. They are not human to him. So I think that also gives why he can't see them as his wife and daughter. He's not going to get that emotional connection. They are just prey to him, I guess. He's in front of their face. They can't see him. I was so scared. And then the bear trap scene. So he gets stuck in the bear trap. They're running. I'm like, is he going to stay locked up until daylight and he's going to transform back? Like, I wasn't sure how the lore worked because we didn't really get a lot of that. And nope, he goes full Saw mode and chews off his leg or his foot. And I also like that it didn't slow him down completely because listen, my cousin has a dog with 3 legs. He hikes a mountain every day. Okay, 3-legged dogs can do a lot. So I do like that it did slow him down. It did change the pace of it a little bit to give them honestly a fighting shot. The ending wouldn't have been realistic to me if he was still full speed. So I literally wrote in my notes, how the are they getting out of this? So then they find the deer blind, and I love a good parallel. I love a good callback. They get in the deer blind. We see the breath again. Damn. It was just, that was icing on the cake for me. I really like that callback. And they're in there, and she has the gun. You had to face the person you love, knowing that they're a monster, and you want to believe that they're still in there. You know, he has a moment where he kind of calms down. I don't know if he's recognizing, if he's thinking, if he's evaluating. If you've seen American Werewolf in London, you'll understand that concept is also in there. And then I'm expecting the daughter, because like the daughter, the whole cheesy thing was like she can feel what her dad feels. When she says, "Mommy, he wants us to be over," I was expecting her to like maybe try to go up and be like, "Oh, like Daddy, I love you," or like try to speak to him and get him to come back to them. But the fact that in that moment she was like, "Mommy, he wants us to be over," you know, she might as well said, "Mommy, shoot him." I love that. And she does. And he dies. And that's how it ends. They go to the valley where he was talking about when you look out there, all your problems don't seem real because everything is so much bigger than you, you know? Like you are so small on this planet. And I feel that when I go out hiking, that's one of my favorite feelings. And I think it's a really beautiful visual to end the movie on. But for me, this tied up all the conflicts. The dad didn't want to be his dad, so he didn't want to be hard, he didn't want to be scary, he didn't want to scare his daughter. But in reality, you cannot always protect your children, and I think that that is a really good lesson. He protected her until he lost himself, and then when he lost himself, she knew enough, she had learned enough from him to say, "Mommy, he needs to go," you know? She wasn't like, "Oh, that's my daddy, like, don't kill him, don't kill him." She knew what needed to be done, and I think that really shows that he did teach her something. And it also shows us that you cannot protect your children from everything. You do not know what's going to happen. He didn't know he was going to be the wolfman. Even if he wasn't the wolfman, I don't think he would have been able to protect her from the other wolfman. So I think it's something you have to live with. And I think for the mom, she learned that she is maternal. She is a mother. She was a mama bear in this movie, okay? She was protecting that daughter. She was thinking how to get out of it. She was trying to save him. She was dressing his wounds. She was facing fear in the face, literally in the face. For me, it just was, I think it really resolved. It's not that resolution you want. You may have wanted this happy ending. You might have wanted someone to say something, but your father and husband just turned into a wolfman, killed another wolfman that was trying to kill you, tried to kill you, and you had to shoot him. We're not having heart to hearts. We're not having a debrief. I think that's more realistic. That's why I like in movies. I don't want all that dialogue. I don't want all that discussion. I don't want flashbacks. I don't want him to turn back into the father in the daylight and then have this like, "Oh, I'm dying, but you did the right thing." We didn't need that. I thought it was perfect. I love this movie, clearly. You can disagree with me if you want. Personally, I really liked it. The build up in the van scene, I didn't love it, so I can't give it a 5-star. But when shit started to turn, when that van crashed and we got over that horrible effects, that's when I was like, hey, I'm obsessed with this. So let me know what you think. I loved it. I loved it personally. I know I might be in the minority, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to like everything. Not everybody's going to like everything. Who cares? I just hope that you hear me out. I just hope you hear me out. So thanks so much, and I will see you in the next one. I don't know what's coming out next, guys. I have so many filmed and in editing. You'll get something. Bye.